Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good evening as we are going to start our, this new reward case study webinar session of Business Standard Be Smart. I know it's a very, tricky time in the evening to host a webinar, but I'm sure that, the guests and the panelists, the esteemed panelists rather, that we have today with us will, make the discussion very, very interesting for you all. We are joined by B School students across India, the professors in all these colleges who are, crafting and nurturing and grooming these young corporate leaders who will, join in Indian corporates after they pass out from their own colleges, and of course the esteemed panelist members that we have with us today. So we have been running this webinar quite successfully for the past year, and as many of you would know that we give reward case studies. We conduct reward case studies every month, and we give them real life situations, and based on them we ask questions to the students to test their strategic skills, to test their planning, to test their creativity, of course. And then we come up with the winners of this case studies. We come up with 3 winners based on the answers. And this is a concluding webinar that we conduct every month. So this particular month, the case study was related to, the EV industry in India. And our topic for this webinar is India's EV ambitions. So let me just introduce our esteemed panel members. We have with us today Dr. Syed Hasan. He's Vice Dean and Area Chair of Finance at the School of Business, Woxsen University, based in Hyderabad. Dr. Hasan is a board member in various corporates and a financial advisor for multiple companies. He has participated on talk shows and several national and international media channels. With over 15 years of experience across academia and the financial industry, he brings a rare combination of theoretical depth and practical expertise. A very, very warm welcome, Dr. Hasan. Our next panelist for today who will be joining us is Bharath Krishna Rao Potluri. He's a co-founder and CEO of EMOBI, a Bengaluru-based EV firm. Bharath is a visionary leader with a rich background in diverse industries, especially renewable energy. He firmly believes in the crucial role of energy storage in transitioning from fossil fuels to the renewable energy sources. He also currently serves on the board of the holding company of Carbon Mobiles and its manufacturing subsidiaries. We welcome you both. A very, very warm welcome to this webinar, and we are looking forward to a great discussion with both of you.
Thank you.
So the first question we start with you, Dr. Hasan, is we are talking about India's EV ambitions, but then how are India's EV ambitions realistic, and how are we placed today? Do you think our journey is kind of aligned with the destination?
First of all, let me thanks Business Standard and entire team who is doing these initiatives, and it's really very good for the B schools and anyone who is participating and listening to these conversations in various manner. I would like to answer this with a very positive attitude, saying that yes, is realistic, and is the same time is challenging and ambitious as well, because we are targeting something which is EV target of 30% by 2030. That is what the ambitions and target which we are looking for. Now, before moving for this, I'll say that we have to understand the psychology of Indian customers in the automobile sector. So Indians mainly, they look at one car, one family kind of a thought process, value for money concepts, and they generally look for the resale value of a car and multiple other factors. So the entire ecosystem is required to be little upgraded. A little thought would be required on ecosystem to improve and achieve this ambitions by 2030. The area where we are doing very positive is two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments, which is 95% of the total EV cells. We are little penetrated lesser in the four-wheeler segment, which is the 2% of the penetrations as per the mid of 2025 data. So aligning to the 2 and 3, there's some challenges of the batteries and some challenges which we are facing from supply chain, geopolitical. This we're going to discuss further in that grounds. But yes, I feel as yes, is a realistic, but some challenges and some realistic thought is required to convert this in the real facts.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hassan. Mr. Rao, we would, love to hear from you about this.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, and thank you for the team at Be Smart to having us. So I think India's ambitions for penetration of EV is getting driven primarily in use cases where your early adopters have already adopted, which you're seeing more on the two-wheeler side. In the four-wheelers, as you're seeing newer models coming in from Mahindra, which are very attractive, and Tata has also got a slew of models which are coming in. Those models are attractive to passenger vehicles, and we're seeing those sales also increase. However, when you look at the two-wheeler segment, both on upfront cost basis as well as on TCO basis, we have hit price parity. And that, I think, is a key piece which is driving further demand for electric two-wheelers. Another segment that we see TCO parity being hit is on commercial vehicles and freight logistics and intercity bus transportation. Intercity logistics is another growing segment where there are a few products which are already there in the market from different OEMs, but there is a need for further strengthening of products in that segment. And we will always see adoption happening from those use cases where the usage of a vehicle is higher, whereby the higher cost of the EV can be amortized and result in a lower TCO within a given time frame. And for as far as passenger vehicles and typical consumers are concerned, I think as companies look to launch more attractive looking vehicles at attractive price points and different models like battery as a service, energy as a service kind of programs, with the increase in charging infra on the back of fleet deployments, there is very good chances of increasing penetration in the passenger vehicle segment as well. But having said that, I think if oil prices continue to go the way they are, the penetration of EVs will continue to see an accelerated rate of growth.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Interesting thing that you shared with us. Dr. Hassan, you touched upon the challenge part in the first question. So let us go deep into the challenges now. What have been the real challenges in India's EV adoption? According to you, it is batteries, energy storage, the infrastructure. What else?
So for me, the first thing with the battery, which is the one challenge which we are facing, because 100% of the lithium ion cell, which we are getting from China and mainly Korea. So this is the one challenge where we are completely dependent on the other countries. The domestic manufacturing is very less. Supply chain issue and geopolitical risk is one. So at the same time, I would say that the cost of EV vehicles is slightly higher if you compare with the petrol and diesels, which is nearly 30% to 40% is increase in the EV. So Indian market is a price sensitive. So the subsidies factors which is required to be when we see the subsidies, then we see that the sales of EV vehicles have increased, and then immediately when the subsidies are being removed or subsides, then the sales is coming down. So that indicates that this is something which the government has to provide some kind of subsidies which is required the same, and anxiety factor in the customer. So some customer need to understand or some kind of a campaign or some kind of awareness is required to be given. People have not started adopting with that EV can run for 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, or whatever the claim which we made. So this is required to be done, and this is one challenge with the customer is feeling a little anxious, And if you see the percentage of penetrations in EV by 25 made, was in India is around 7.5%, whereas the global percentage is showing somewhere around 18 to 19%. So there is a scope, and we have certain high ambitions for the EV. Certainly, yes, is required, and the challenges need to be addressed. Where we can look off the interest rate, where the government can give some kind of NBFCs and bank where they can reduce the interest rate for the EV vehicles. And so I'll say that the cost, infrastructure, policy, and consumer mindset plus supply chain. So this is a combination of all which can work to enhance and address the challenges.
Thank you, Dr. Hasan. Mr. Rao, we would like to hear from you. Dr. Hasan just spoke about the pricing disparity between EVs and petrol cars. How can EVs be made more affordable? We will come to the policy part also in the next question maybe, but then how can EVs be made more affordable? Something the government should focus on, or the makers, the manufacturers can focus on. What do you think, sir?
So it's two parts. I think affordability comes from usage of a vehicle. And I think what the approach some of the automakers are taking is a hybrid approach where rather than going for a full EV, they're looking to push in mild hybrids, which would not be a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, but something which is just a mild hybrid, where the difference is you're not charging the hybrid vehicle with the battery externally, but the battery charges by itself, thereby increasing your fuel efficiency. So I think that's the first level of passenger vehicle cars that we're seeing. Of course, the Indian automakers have been very aggressive, like Mahindra's and Tata's, in terms of launching all electric platforms. And in the all electric platforms, to be able to offer at a better upfront pricing than what you're seeing today in the market, I think some of the OEM partners and players are looking to offer battery as a service programs, where they're looking to charge on a rupees per kilometer basis for the battery, with the thesis being that when you separate the battery, which in a two-wheeler might be making up to 40%, in a truck maybe 15% of the cost of the truck, and maybe in a passenger vehicle somewhere closer to 20 to 25% of the cost of the vehicle. By reducing that, they're trying to bridge the gap between a petrol vehicle and electric vehicle. However, to really see long-term significant price parity with petrol vehicles, we will have to see localization of the supply chain, which goes beyond just the cell manufacturing, but also closer to the mines, minerals, and processing of mines and minerals, which is both the technology process know-how as well as infra scale projects, which do have their gestation period. So those will continue to be some challenges for India as we look to scale EV adoption and deployment of batteries for different use cases.
So, Mr. Rao, I would quickly want to ask you, do you think that the Indian market is mature enough to, quickly adoption of EVs and, a faster transition to EVs?
Typically, we will see EV as always being the second car when you talk about cars. And in terms of bikes, we're seeing it being now also the preferred first bike, because in a bike, you typically would not be, a normal commuter would not be riding more than 100 to 150 kilometers per day, which most vehicles today are providing you batteries which would enable you to get to those ranges. So for bikes, you would see it as a first option. For cars, there is still a point where a consumer would prefer a petrol car for those longer drives, which might also be occasional, but definitely an EV for a second car for local commute within cities, thereby reducing their overall monthly expenditure on fuel. And those will continue to be the drivers in terms of launching vehicles with different battery capacities, different configurations of hybrid variations, and their availability in the market.
Sure, we heard you. Thank you so much. Dr. Hasan, the same question to you as well. If you can also address the same question, if the Indian market, how much maturity is there in the Indian market, to fasten and to quicken the rate of adoption of EVs. And also, as Mr. Rao mentioned that we have adopted to the two-wheeler EVs, but then why this lag when it comes to cars?
Oh, if you see the numbers, the almost 95 to 90% of the total sales in the EVs come from two to three wheelers. Still, four wheelers is required to push on. The major reason is I was reading one of the article recent past, and I saw that it is difficult to find the charging point than the finding a car for the EV. So that itself indicates that we are shortage of chargings. And if you see the numbers again, the number of four-wheelers or two-wheelers which is in on road, again, one of the article and research paper which is talking, I'm citing here. So that's again says that almost around per vehicles in the city, in metros, there is around out of 30 vehicles which is on road, there's a one charging point. So if we can work on those area, I believe that the battery cost, which is slightly higher because we are importing it, if the government will and the private partnerships, they can work together and involve those things easily for the people. I am not finding it very difficult because it helps uh, um, the government financing. It will enhance the green financing, and it will help the people to adopt the EV vehicles faster. The numbers which we are targeting will not be much difficult, but there are some measures required to be taken.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. In the earlier part of the conversation, you touched upon the policies. So, what changes or additions in policies do you wish to expect to see in the EV space? If you can, we have a detailed discussion around it. And you also think that the policies are too subsidy driven in India? What about the PLI scheme? I mean, we are, aiming to make India a global manufacturing hub, but is the PLI scheme alone enough to make to get into to make our dreams real?
Yes, this is some policies which is required to be boosted up. Like I mentioned that if as a first step, if you can move forward and saying that yes, we have some subsidies for the first time buyers, because buying a car in India have is not a one person decision, is a family decision, and the people, one family, one car, and all those things. And I rightly said, but Mr. Rao, that this car which we are talking EVs is the second comes after the petrol and diesel preference. So if we can push up some kind of a policy, like we have talked about PLI and all that. So, but the thing is, PLI solve the supply and not does not boost the demand. So we required some kind of a boosting in a demand kind of a policies where this can enhance the low cost EMI and charging stations and government involvement with the privates, and there is technology which the India can share with Korea, Australia, which those can be involved for the batteries manufacturing, and if we can manufacture the battery in the country itself. And India EV policy is subsides, and so it is a demand pull. Then the customer is given incentives that will enhance the demand overall, I feel.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Mr. Rao, we would quickly want to hear from you as well. What do you think?
I think the government should support long-term R&D into technology development, because I think we are seeing in China the fruits of their long-term investments into R&D, leading to Chinese companies today leading the curve in technology on battery technologies and integrated vehicle technologies. And their superiority in terms of controlling the batteries, the charging infra, and the vehicle key components is something which most Western automakers are threatened about. And that is a real challenge which they have taken a leap in. And that is purely with fundamental research going towards improving cell chemistries, improving cell technologies, improving semiconductor designs for power electronics, more silicon carbide GaN-based semiconductor designs for higher voltages, higher powers. I think a lot of these technology leaps and understandings do come in with fundamental investment into R&D. And that's an area which not only the government, but also the private sector needs to support R&Ds and educational institutions. Our foundational sciences and those departments housing foundational science development will be very critical as the world moves towards more renewable energy and new energy technology-based solutions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Interesting times where we are living today. We are dealing with the problem of climate change, and EVs are seen as a green solution uh, to the climate change issue. Now, do you think that, through the EVs, are we really solving the problem of pollution? And are we providing significant renewable energy support in the manufacturing and making of EVs? Or we are just shifting the emissions from road to the plants?
Typically, if you see today, most C&I customers, especially large manufacturers, do have a significant portion of their energy coming in from contracted renewables, which is long-term contracts with renewable generators for their energy requirements. However, when you get to the charging side of the infrastructure from the grid, that is a place where you will see more of a coal mix, which is India does have a significant installed capacity of coal, and coal being a baseload thermal power allocation that is available throughout the day. So at more times than not, you are charging from thermal power. However, as we're seeing the country and its GDP continue to grow, there is an increased need of nearly 50 gigawatts every year of firm capacity which needs to be added, which is close to about 200 gigawatts of solar or maybe 150 gigawatts of hybrid of wind and solar, which needs to be added to the grid every year. And that is a place where you're assuming just tracking the GDP growth and the industrial needs for the additional energy. When you add back EVs and penetration of EVs along with it, our firm belief at EMOBI is generation should go hand in hand with the customers and sale of EVs. And some of the things which we do at our end is provide solar charging inverters and battery systems so that the customers are also able to harness their own solar energy, store it in a battery, and use that stored energy to charge their vehicles. And we see that eventually there will be more and more companies who will look to help the customer generate their own energy, store the energy, and consume the energy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rao. Mr. Dr. Hassan, we would come to you and, want to hear from you about the same question.
So my perspective in this is yes, as we are talking about sustainability, Paris Agreement, and multiple other area. So this is one of the innovations and initiative which can bring sustainability to the normal people. And using of EV will can definitely help us in that area. But the questions and the thought which comes is in India, electricity of 65% to 70% generated from the coal. And for the charging EV and EV stations, that's electricity which is going to be used is need to be checked whether it's a dirty or whether it's a clean. So it reduces the pollutions, of course, for cars, which is petrol and diesel oriented, but it shifts to immersions power plants. At the same time, EV efficiency is 85% if you compare with petrol and diesel vehicles. Definitely, it reduces the air pollutions, which comes with the health benefit. So, and the other thought which comes here is the solar energies and technologies which can help to reduce the pollution further. and shift of this towards the more sustainable goal with the research, innovations, and technology, which we can do together with collaborations of India and other countries, technologies can bring here. And then this target will not be so far and difficult to achieve at all.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. We would also love to hear from you. I mean, what, according to you, how do we stand in the EV adoption aspect today when we compare ourselves with the rest of the world?
I can say that EV adoptions as of now, which we can see in the four-wheeler is slightly not that satisfactory or very initial. It's 2% of the penetration in the four-wheeler segment. But we are doing very good in three-wheeler segments. And globally, if you look at, we are penetrated or able to capture somewhere around 7.5% of EV vehicles in the country, where the globally is around 18 to 20% nearby. Dependency on China is slightly higher on the battery perspective, and the Korea again. So those, I feel like there are ecosystem which we require to be developed, like technology which we can bring here, and if we can able to manufacture battery in the country, which we are importing from others. At the same time, the supply chain issues globally and the EV charging stations, which is required. Because if you have EV vehicles on road, then you require a number of charging stations, which can solve the purpose quickly. And of course, it's required as fast charging machines as compared to what we have. If you look at the number again, then this fast charging machine is just a 30 to 40% or nearly 30% of the total charging machine which we have in the country. So if you have a 30%, if we can increase the fast charging machines available, which takes a lesser time to charge your vehicles, which may be a 10 minutes or 15 minutes, like China and others. So we can do it very well.
Mr. Rao, we would quickly, love to hear from you as well on the same question.
Sorry, Abhishek, can I just ask you to repeat the question, please?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. So, we were just discussing about we were comparing, where is India placed today on the aspect of EV adoption when compared to the rest of the world?
Right. So India is actually a very unique market. One, we have a very strong protectionist policies towards local manufacturing and automotive majors who are manufacturing in India. Second, our road infrastructure is very unique, and that facilitates or necessitates a specific design and architecture for the Indian market. And again, the consumer mentality is also very different and unique, where frugal engineering is a key aspect and milestone in all Indian automotive products, with majority of the market making up in the sub 10 lakh rupee sort of bracket for cars. And similarly, you would see two-wheelers in that 1 lakh or sub 1 lakh market making up majority of the sales. These products are now designed to be reliable, designed to be long-lasting, and also designed for Indian conditions. And I think the EVs are also going through that cycle. And that cycle in India started a little later compared to the rest of the world. While if you compare to developed markets, the conditions are very similar. So Chinese car fits very well into European markets or American markets, not necessarily as well straight fit into India. But in the car perspective, India's infrastructure is getting better, so cars are fitting in slightly better. But when you get to two-wheelers and below, that is again a key challenge, because two-wheelers and their use case in a market like China is very different from the way we use two-wheelers in India. So these are some factors which we're seeing being hampering the adoption. And as Dr. Syed did point out, charging infrastructure still continues to be a concern. And we are seeing now OEMs partnering with multiple CPOs, startups, and different corporates to enable development of fast charging based infrastructure. And this puts further pressure on the grid to be strong enough and have enough power to deliver the requirements for fast chargers. And this infrastructure development is a place where bottlenecks can come up in India's EV adoption. And these will have to be addressed again with uniquely Indian solutions, which also present some opportunities for companies working in that space.
So, Mr. Rao, we would also love to ask you, a lot of the viewers, a major chunk of the viewers are the B School students. We have to talk about the workforce, the skills required to be in the sector, the opportunities in the EV sector. Now, is skilled workforce a major problem for the Indian EV industry? And what are some of the the best opportunities for young MBAs in the sector?
Right. So the EV industry is a lot more democratized than what you would see in the fossil fuel industry. So when I say that, in terms of the fossil fuel industry, to get to a certain performance, a lot of engineering and know-how went into designing the internal combustion engine. While in the EV industry, where it's primarily an electric powertrain consisting of a battery, motors, controllers, vehicle control units, displays clusters, and those components which are more software and firmware related. I think the technology development roadmaps are more engineering based for embedded technologies and electrochemical based technologies. So for MBAs, students who are looking to come into the sector, a fundamental understanding of the basic technology and the key building blocks which go into the EVs will go a long way. And another key opportunity which the EV industry offers is the circularity and the design for circularity concept, where you are talking about materials going from cradle to cradle instead of cradle to grave, whereby you are able to recycle the materials at the end of their life cycle and be able to use them as raw materials for beginning a whole new product and manufacturing process. And that is, I think, opportunities and interesting areas for newer students who are coming in to think innovatively and help in companies in defining and designing their usage of electric vehicles and integrating sustainability into their daily operations, where the driver today is no longer purely sustainability for the sake of sustainability and reduction of carbon emissions, but the drivers we are seeing are driven by economics and pure differential between TCO or total cost of ownership between an ICE vehicle and an EV vehicle. And that's where you'll see it being adopted faster in certain segments and slower in different segments.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. So, with this question, before we conclude the discussion today on India's EV adoption, I would love to hear from Dr. Hasan. Dr. Hasan, if you can also, just talk through the question. I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, is a skilled workforce a problem for the EV sector? What are some of the best opportunities for MBAs in the sector?
So for liquid, the number of the students which gets MBA degree every year in India is somewhere around 2 to 2.5 lakhs. And the total automotive workforce in India is around 2 crores. Out of this 2 crores, 80% of them, and more than 80%, nearly 80 to 85%, are in petrol and diesel kind of ICE vehicles, where EV specific workforce is less, which is nearly 1.5 lakhs to 1.8 lakhs. So as per the ambitions and target which we have for India by 2030, if we are achieving with the technologies, we are able to get the challenges done, then I expect around 8 lakhs workforce may be needed by 2030 in the EV domain. So there is a scope, there is requirements for the MBA and management graduates. The area like battery and chemicals design that may attract the tech-driven students and business development, green financing, supply chain, policy, and EV adoptions strategies would attract the MBA graduates. The company like Tata Motors, Ola Electrics, the bank like SBI, NBFCs, BPCL, and Niti Ayogs and all that. That this will be a target, and the students can look into those kind of areas for their jobs roles in different segment of business development, green financing, supply chain, and
Well, thank you, Dr. Hassan and Mr. Rao. So, with that, we come to the end of the discussion now. Before we go on and announce the names of the winners, I would just like to summarize what we have discussed. We discussed about India's current EV adoption. When it's about two and three wheelers, we are rapidly, getting transition to the EV thing. But when it comes to cars, we still do have a lot of catching up to do. So both our panelists are very hopeful and very optimistic about the EV adoption in India. We have compared India's EV adoption to the rest of the world. We have spoken about the different policy requirements, the regulatory changes that we need to address the EV adoption thing. We have also spoken about how in the process of EV making, how important it is to get the support of renewable energy, so that we can make the most of it and we can make our earth a pollution-free thing. And then we have also spoken about the different skills required to make your mark in the EV industry, because we know that a lot of the MBAs, they they aspire to join the EV space after passing out from their courses. So we have discussed about the different emerging opportunities in the sector. We have spoken about the green EV space, and now we quickly move on to the winners part. I mean, just end the surprise and let us see who are the winners for the case study, for the March case study. So the first winner, the prize goes to Gayatri B from Ethiraj College for Women, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. She gets an award of 5,000 rupees. Congratulations, Gayatri, on this tremendous achievement. We move on to the second prize winner. It is Shubhashri U from the School of Commerce and Management Studies, Dayanand Sagar University, Bengaluru, Karnataka. Very, very congrats, Shubhashri. She won rupees 3,000. And the next winner we have is Yuvashri Karthik K from Ethiraj College for Women, again, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Congrats, Yuvashri, and she won rupees 2,000. So we would want to hear from Gayatri B about your experience in the case study.
So, hello everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank my college and its department for the MBA department for making me participate and supporting me throughout this case study challenge. And I would also like to thank my friends and family. And secondly, my experience in this study was both challenging and enriching, and I have also gained experience and insights on the EV industry. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri. We would move on and invite Shubhashri U from the School of Commerce and Management Studies, our second prize winner, to share her experience.
Abhishek, Subhashri has not joined. We can move to the third winner.
Okay, moving on to the third winner, Yuvashri Karthik K from Ethiraj College for Women. Yuvashri, if you can speak about your experience in the case study.
My journey with the Be Smart case study was a little challenging, and it was truly enriching. Working on case study helped me develop my critical thinking and also my theoretical concepts in practical situations and build confidence in decision making. Thank you for this recognition. It is not just an achievement but a motivation for me to continue learning and improving and for my excellence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our case study award winners, for sharing your experiences. And once again, many, many congratulations to you for achieving this tremendous feat. We will now, announce the next month's case study, the April case study we have for you. So the title of the case study, if we can please focus on the slide. So the title of the case study is Sailing Through the Storm. We are, we are well aware, we need not mention how impactful the ongoing war has been. So the title has been designed for that. And the synopsis is: a distant war has cast a direct impact on your shipping company. So how can your vessel navigate the stormy weathers? We wanted to test the skill of the students. So for example, if you, own a shipping company today, how would you navigate the challenges? So this is the title and synopsis for the April month's case study. We would announce the dates for the case study. So we are launching the case study tomorrow, which is April 1st. April 15th is the deadline for submission of your answers. We will conclude it with the April 30 webinar, which is also the date when we declare the results and the three winners of the case study. And May 19th will be the date for disbursement of the prize money. So that is all from our side, and we thank you everybody to participate in this session, and we are very very thankful to Dr. Syed Hasan and Mr. Bharath Krishna Rao Potluri for taking out time, and agreeing to participate in this session. It was great having both of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Doctor. It was good talking to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. See you. Bye.